Awesome. Well, super excited to be able to have a chat with Sacha DeWitt from Water Ponies over in Perth. I was very privileged to be able to sit next to her at the SwimCon conference up on Sunshine Coast. And guess what? She won the Swim Teacher of the Year for toddlers and babies for all of Swim Australia. So very excited. It was a very exciting night for her, I'm sure, and her team. And I stole some attention so I could grab her and give you guys some tips and tricks from a super experienced teacher and clearly one of the best in Australia. So I did want to do a little bit of an intro outside of that. So Sacha is a mom of two beautiful girls, 18 and 21. She's originally from the Netherlands, so she might sound a little bit funny because she has a bit of an accent like myself. And she moved to Australia about 15 years ago, where she reignited her passion for teaching, and she's really stepped into the role of teaching swimming and water safety for parents and their children. So I'm very excited to have her on board to give us some amazing tips about toddlers and babies. So, Sacha, I'll put you on. Perfect. So, welcome. Thank you for coming.
There we go. Yeah, thank you for having me.
The joy of technology across Australia,
No,
over on the Gold Coast. But it was lovely to meet you, and congratulations again for winning the award. It was very exciting
thank
for
you.
everyone, I'm sure. What have you done to celebrate, or just jumped in the water? That's pretty much it again.
Jump straight back in the water. Yeah,
That's what we do.
that is what we do. We just go straight back to teaching, and it was lovely because all my parents knew, so there was lots of applause every time when I started the shift, and I got presents, flowers, and lots of drawings, and it was really nice to get that feedback from my parents. Well, they
Nice.
all went, yeah, but we already knew you were the best. Yeah, but now
Now
it's
Australia
official.
knows, which is even more exciting. So
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Did I miss anything in the little intro for you, or do you have anything else you wanted to share about your experience with us before we jump into some questions that my families have asked?
Well, mostly I got into this. This was what I wanted to do when I was little.
Yeah.
When I was 12, I wanted to be a swim teacher
Well,
because,
me too.
yeah,
Funny enough.
my bigger cousin was a swim teacher. He was my swim teacher, and I looked up to him. I thought he was the coolest person I knew because he was teaching people to swim, and how cool was that? But
No.
then I realized, okay, maybe that's not actually going to pay the mortgage, and maybe I need a real job so I could actually pay my mortgage. And then when we moved to Australia, it was sort of, okay, I don't have to worry about that so much anymore. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 2 years. And then I thought, okay, it's time to go and do something.
Mm.
And one day I walked into my local swim school where my kids were having their swimming lessons. And there was a piece of paper on the fridge that they were looking for swimming teachers.
Yeah.
So I just, out of a
Thought, what?
joke, asked, well, what do you need to be a swim teacher in Australia? Well, you attend a course and then you do your practical hours and then you're qualified. So I think I can do that. And that's it.
There you
That's
go.
how I rolled into it.
Nice. Well, very excited.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about, so I've had a few parents that they do lessons at a pool, but they also do stuff at home and they want to kind of complement what they're doing at home. So I'll get
Yeah.
some tips from you. So what age would you start with? I know your big thing is toddlers and babies. So what's the age that you would recommend someone get their kids started in swimming?
It really depends on what it is that you want. If you really want to just go for the social aspect of just bonding with your baby, you can start at 6 weeks.
Wow, six
Our
weeks.
swim school
Okay.
actually,
Most people
yeah,
would be surprised at that.
we start them at 6 weeks because we found there was a lack of. It used to be that the hospitals actually introduced parents on what they could do with their child for bath time and how to keep them comfortable in the water. Because babies are born from water, so we never have to introduce a child to water. We are reintroducing them to water. And that is something that hospitals used to do. But here in WA, we find that the hospitals are no longer offering that service. And that's where we picked that up, sort of going, okay, what if we get those parents in and we do that completely free of charge? where we just go, okay, bring in your baby and come in the pool together. They
Yeah.
do need to have their first immunizations, and we need to make sure that if mom is coming in, that mom has been cleared by the doctor to actually go back in the water.
Yep.
But it's absolutely fine if that's all sorted. Just come in the pool, and our pools are heated. You do need to make sure that with those little, really little ones, if you're bringing them in at 6 weeks old, make sure that the pool is properly heated, and it needs to be 32 degrees, because any colder is just too cold for those little ones.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely a
Um,
great tip. I know I'm holding off on our outdoor pool now because it's still just a little bit
yeah,
cold for my little one. But yeah. Oh, that's awesome. We started at 8 weeks, so right there with
yeah,
you. But I've never heard of a program like that before. So that's really cool that you guys, they did it with the government and you kind of took it over. So, but I
yeah,
know a lot of places do offer free courses until we do it up until 6 months because it is a social thing. It's very important.
yeah. No, absolutely. And especially for those new moms, if it is your first child, life is hard with a newborn baby. And it's nice to have something, okay, I need to get out of the house, but I don't need to get dressed up. So I don't need to worry about how my hair looks. I don't need to worry about what I look like. I can literally show up in my track pants because I'm going to go in the water anyway.
Yep.
And all those other moms, we all have that still little bit of a, hmm, did you just have a baby or are you going to have another one? We all have that little bit of a tummy still, and we all look like that. And we all go through that stage where my baby's not sleeping. I can't get a minute to myself. And it's nice for those moms to just have that moment where we're all in that same boat, and it's nice for them to relate. And we see that they start really great friendships. They
Yeah.
start at 6 weeks, and then they start their own little WhatsApp chat. And before you know it, they meet up for coffee before and after swimming, and they start doing other activities together. And that's how they build their little village. And that is just wonderful to see.
Yeah. Nice. And then you get to see them all grow up together, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So if we're looking at, so maybe not necessarily 6 weeks, maybe I know because you're not really recommended to go underwater quite that early, but if we're looking at kind of the top basic skills, maybe the top one or two skills, what would you be looking at for, say, 6 months to a 1 year old that the parents are wanting to try to
Six
achieve?
months to a 1 year old. 6 months is where they are actually, developmentally wise, they should be able to reach and grab for toys,
Yeah.
which means that they are at a stage where they can learn to rely on their own hands and no longer rely on mommy and daddy's hands constantly. At 6 months old, they're also capable of learning to hold their breath on command. Up until 6 months old, that is purely relying on a reflex. But once they are 6 months old, they're actually old enough to learn to take a breath and hold it. And that's when you can go, okay, my baby understands what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
So my baby can safely go underwater.
Ah, very interesting. And do you have any tips for what parents can kind of look for when they see the we call it signs of readiness to go underwater? So I'm sure that's something I know even as a swim teacher, I was worried about putting my own baby under the water. I was like, is he going to be okay? I was like, I know he's okay.
Yeah. Um, so we start conditioning straight away. So they can start conditioning before they even start formal lessons. So
Okay.
we do start them with our 6 weeks old, and I've got my baby here.
Oh, that's
Oh,
a very realistic baby. I love it.
I
And
know,
the baby
that's
has
my
a name,
baby.
I hear.
Yes, this is Elvis,
Oh, there you go. Lovely.
because I've been teaching for 13 years now, and I am yet to get the first Elvis in my class.
Ah,
So there is never that question, oh, who is he named after? Well, his name is named after Elvis Presley.
Elvis.
So there's no confusion about that.
Nice. Perfect.
Now, so with our really little ones, we start literally just going with a watering can, just going from ear to ear, just to let babies experience that water on their face, but also getting parents to understand that it is absolutely fine for your baby to get their face wet.
Yep.
Then at about 3 months old, we start going from water from the back to the front, always letting them see that water, letting them feel it on their body, but letting them look with their eyes. Oh, where's the water going? It's moving, and then moving it from the back to the front. And that's when we start introducing trigger words. Now, I prefer to always use their name, ready, go.
Okay.
Um, I'm not a big fan of using one, two, three, but at the end of the day, you need to do what works for you as long as you are consistent. Um, I have parents that were like me, born outside of Europe, speak a different language. So I've got a mom who is very consistent going in French, un, deux, trois. And that's what her daughter understands. So that's what her daughter knows. Okay, when I hear un, deux, trois, I know I have to take my breath and hold it.
Yep.
I've gone with parents. I don't care if you do apple, banana, pancake, but
Consistency.
be consistent in the
Yeah.
words that you use. Keep them short, keep them snappy. Uh, Up until 6 months, you just rely on that reflex. So water on their face automatically kicks in the reflex where if water touches my forehead, I will hold my breath. Babies cannot control that. That's why we start with really little bits of water. And you can see if your baby's comfortable with that, then you can next week you do a little bit more. And that is something where if you don't have a swim school around you, you do that at home because you could practice that in the bath or in the shower as long as
Oh,
there's water around.
great idea, especially in the shower
Yeah,
too. Put them under a little
yeah,
bit, or even
absolutely. In
get
the
a cup.
shower.
Same.
So, baby, ready, go. In the shower, out
Mhm.
the shower. And just letting them get used to, okay, if I hear those words, my breath's going to be taken away. And then once they are 6 months old, they actually start to connect those dots. That neural pathway has been created. And that's when you can say, baby, ready, go. And you just pour the water just on their face. And they actually start to see what's happening. So we tend to get our parents to just turn around so baby can see their face. Babies learn so much by looking at your face. So if I go, baby, ready, go, I show baby, I take a big breath. I show baby that I close my mouth. And then I do that pour. And then the first thing that baby sees is me going, oh, that was so good. And that is how your baby will slowly start to learn, hey, I'm going to put one and one together. So if I hear those words, can't breathe, but that's okay because I know how to close off my airways myself. I
Yeah.
know how to stop breathing. And what you see in a child that understands this is you see it in their face. And again, you don't need to have water anywhere to see if there is a response. We get kids where we literally sit them on the wall away from the water. So they're sitting on the bench, and then we go, baby, ready, go. And you see something in their face. And some kids just wriggle their nose up.
Yeah.
Some kids lift their eyebrows for, oh, yeah, it's coming. Some kids go, oh, mouth open wide because they know the water's coming and they like the taste of the water. And when you see that consistency in their response, that's
Yeah.
when you know, okay, they understand it. That's when they're ready to go underwater.
Okay, good. Nice. And now I've had a few parents come up to me and they didn't start lessons that early. And they say their kid might not like getting the hair wet in the shower. Is this something that might help with that too? Like just help
Absolutely.
prepare them?
The reason why a lot of kids don't like getting their hair wet in the shower, it's not about the hair, it's about that forehead. So when you put a child in the shower and you start washing their hair, there's constant water on their forehead. And try it for yourself when you're standing in the shower. Now, you wear glasses, so you might struggle with that because when you wear glasses on your nose, the bridge of your nose actually disrupts that reflex.
Oh,
That's why it's so bad to wear goggles when they're that young because it disrupts the reflex. So if a child is standing in the shower and you're washing their hair and there's constant water on their forehead, then there's the constant struggle for them to maintain their normal breathing reflex. They can force themselves to take a breath, but the normal reflex of just breathing in and out through your nose, that gets disrupted. And that's scary for a child.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Good
So
stuff.
that's why that whole, oh, they don't like water on their face. Well, they don't like water on their face because they've had, well, previous trauma where they've just been standing in that shower or you've been washing their hair and all they can
Pain
think
and they
of is,
weren't
oh,
ready.
last time you did that, I couldn't breathe. And that was scary.
Yeah. Okay, good. So this is definitely a tip that anyone can kind of apply towards their babies,
Yeah.
toddlers, or even potentially a little bit older kids. They're having trouble.
Potentially a little bit older, and that's it. Just start with a trinkle of water. And if they're happy with that, then you make a big fuss about it and you go, okay, let's do a little bit bigger next time when we have a shower. And sometimes you start with as simple as just a washcloth. squirt it out above their head, and see how they respond to that.
Yeah. Nice.
And then
All
you
right.
can work your way up. And technically, if you do start them at 6 months old, we generally see that by the time they're 3, they are very comfortable holding their breath for about 10 to 15 seconds.
Wow.
And that's
Awesome.
quite a long time.
Yeah.
That's the time it takes for a child to swim across the length of the average backyard pool.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's great for safety. Definitely.
Yeah,
All we focus on is getting kids safer in the water. You're never going to be safe in
yeah,
the water, but as much as we can teach them to be safer, that's the key.
yeah, absolutely.
Nice. All right. And do you find there's any major obstacles that parents might have when they first start doing swimming lessons?
Major obstacles. Well, for some parents, money is just a major obstacle
Yeah.
because the better the program, the more expensive you'd usually find that the classes are.
Yeah.
And not everyone can afford that. Um, we see a lot of the parents because we have a couple of our swim schools in the areas where it's just, yeah, people are not that keen on spending money, but even those people sometimes just do a few lessons a term, just 2 or 3 lessons a term, just sort of, okay, learn from your teacher, pick up some new things, and then come back next term and do another few
Yeah.
lessons.
And practice at home, like in the bathtub
And
or
practice
even
at
in the pool.
home. Absolutely. Another thing that we see that parents struggle with is the pressure. Uh, it scares parents to go to a swimming lesson because they don't know what to expect.
Yeah. Okay.
And I see a lot of parents coming in where the first thing I have to do, and you see it in the parents, they are so nervous and was, okay, I'm doing this because I want to keep my child safer around water. But I'm so scared you're put my baby underwater that you're going to dunk my child. And I don't want my
Throw
child to
them
be
in.
dunked.
Here you
Yeah,
go, Elvis.
just throw them in. So I usually see with those parents, the very first thing I say, okay, it's in your tempo, your child's tempo, and we are not going to do anything that you and your child are not ready for.
Yeah.
And that is a sign of a good swim school. If you come to a swim school and the very first thing they do is they force your child underwater, whether you agree with that or not, that is an absolute big no-no for me.
Yeah. No, that's a great tip. Awesome. Yeah. Making sure you feel welcome and communicate things like that. Now, have
Yeah.
you ever had any parents that aren't comfortable swimming themselves or
Oh, lots of them.
afraid of the water? Do you have any tips for
Yes.
kind of helping them at all? They can do
We
lessons too, but
do
we're talking
tend to,
talking about babies at the moment.
yeah, we, we do tend to direct those parents to Royal Life Saving. Royal Life Saving here in WA has what's called the CALT program, the culturally and linguistically diverse, because we find it is generally the people that are arriving from Asia, Africa,
Yeah.
that have just not been exposed to swimming lessons at all. And Royal Life Saving here, there's a program where they pay, I think, $50 for a term, and they get good quality swimming lessons because they get their teachers from all the other swim schools around here that help with that program. So that's usually the first thing that we give those parents as a tip. But we're also very much with, we try to sort of balance it that you don't have a full class of parents that can't swim because that's too much for us as a teacher. So
Yeah.
we tend to sort of go, okay, we try to even it out where we're sort of, okay, if we've got 1 or 2 parents in a class that can't swim, that's good. So you keep a little bit closer to them
Yeah.
and you help them a little bit more with certain things. Things that for people that have learned to swim from a young age are perfectly normal, are for them a sort of, yeah, okay, no, how does that work? How am I
We
supposed to
do.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do get a lot of those parents in. And we do tend to see that it's not only building a child's confidence, it's building a parent's confidence. And they might not learn to swim in our classes, but they do get a basic understanding of how the body works in the water. And we do see that they become more and more comfortable every week by just helping them a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Very exciting. Nice. So, how often would you want kids to come in and do lessons or to swim at home in their pool, things like that? Like, would you recommend once a week, twice a
Um,
week, or every day? What's a reasonable kind of? I mean, I'm all
the
for every
m-
day, but it doesn't always
yeah,
happen. Plus, the bathtub gets
the
very
more the
splashy.
more the better. It's absolutely the more the better. But not everything has to be a formal swimming lesson that you pay formal swimming lesson money for.
Yep. Okay.
I know with our swim school, we charge $25 an hour, and not everyone can afford to come 7 days a week. So what we do is we give a lot of information to parents. I find that is the quality of a good swimming teacher, of a good baby teacher, especially. It's
Yeah.
my job to teach a parent, and then the parent should know what to do. And a lot of our parents they come to our class once a week, and then they go to a leisure center another day of the week, where they basically just pay their entry fee, but they
Yeah.
can do their own thing. And
Okay.
they know what to do because they paid attention during the class. And that means they basically, instead of paying $50 for two lessons, they pay $30 for two lessons
Yeah.
because they've paid 25 with us and $5 for the leisure center. And then there's so much that you can do in the bath or even just sitting on the couch. And now I'm just going to quickly see, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm just talking to you. And while my baby's sitting there, I can just let's do our paddling arms. Paddle, paddle, paddle,
Nice.
paddle. See, I don't need to have any water, but I am manipulating. So I am building muscle memory.
Yeah.
And the same, I'm going to scoot back a little bit. When I have my baby sitting on my lap because we're watching Bluey together, I can, let's do our kicking legs. Kick, 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 kick. And again,
Nice.
you're manipulating without even having water around.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. I used to give homework to older kids. I'm like, do you have a pool at home? They're like, no. I'm like, that's all right. Do you have a bed at home? They're like, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like, well, lay down on the bed and kick your legs. Like, it's a movement pattern like
absolutely.
everything else. So we just want to instill it in them. It's even easier
Yeah,
because they don't have to worry about breath control, which is really cool. So,
that's it. I know that one of my neighbors, that was during the whole COVID situation. Well, of course, swimming lessons stopped, and it was sort of, okay, what can we do? Well, I can't invite you into my home because I've got a pool,
well,
you don't. But what we can do is, you know what? Let's just walk around the street and do our big arms and just literally walking around. And that's it. We had the whole street doing that. So everybody was walking around with big
I love
arms. We're
it.
doing our freestyle arms. And everybody was, we'll find a spot of grass to lay on and we're going to go on our tummy. So we got our torpedo arms and then we're going to kick, kick, kick our legs on the grass. And it's little things that you can do with your kids that sort of, you're having a swimming lesson, but you're not getting wet.
Nice. Yeah. So just to really make sure you're paying attention during the lessons, even if your parents sitting on the
Yeah,
side of the pool, if you've got older kids, but and then
yeah,
practicing that stuff either at home or at a pool, like a leisure pool, or in your backyard pool, or even in the bathtub. I know we practice our flip
yeah.
swimming in our bathtub, which is a safety survival skill. So very messy, but it's important.
A lot of my parents practice their back floats in the bath.
Yep. Perfect.
Because if you only do a little bit of water in the bath, just enough to cover your child's ears, then they are comfortable. And then you can go, okay, we're going to do a little bit more water. And suddenly they come up a little bit.
They're floating.
And
Yep.
then they're still comfortable with, okay, I can feel the bottom of the bath under me, but I can wiggle, I can move, nothing's happening. I can try to sit up, I can try to roll over. Hey, I'm comfortable on my back. I'm comfortable getting water in my ears. And before you know it, you can go a little bit extra water. Before you know it, they actually float in the bath by themselves.
Oh, that's a great tip. I'm actually gonna have to start trying that one. I always have enough that he can touch the bottom, so I'll just add a little bit more. It's a great tip.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Nice. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but do you have any kind of resources that you recommend, or any place that parents can look for more information outside of going to their local swim center?
I find Worldwide Swim School is
Okay.
an absolute blessing. It's run by Laurie Lawrence. He used to coach our Olympic team, our Olympic swimmers. And he's basically, well, for for me as baby teacher, he's rock royalty for me. He's done so much research over the years, and he's got an amazing library of games and activities and drills, go starting from 6 months old to your higher levels with teaching them freestyle. And he's got so much information. Some of the videos are free, some of them you have to pay for, but especially if you don't have a swim school around, he's an absolute blessing for that.
Yep. Awesome. Very cool. And is there anything else you or Elvis want to leave us with today?
No, Elvis doesn't have a lot to say. Elvis is happy.
Yeah.
What I do want to make sure that parents know that it doesn't matter how many swimming lessons your child has had. Always keep in mind that just because they can do a certain trick in that specific pool, that doesn't mean they can do it everywhere else. We
Mm,
get so many children that have done survival programs and God knows what else. And it's, oh no, my child can swim. Or can they show me? And then we allow them, okay, jump in the pool and swim. And then they can't because the water temperature is different. It can be colder, it can be warmer. They've learned to swim in a pool with a roof, and that pool doesn't have a roof, or the other way around.
interesting.
I've learned to swim in a pool with a light blue lining, and this is dark blue, and oh, I don't know how to swim in dark blue
Throws them off a
water.
bit. Yeah.
So that is something that parents always have to keep in mind. It doesn't matter how good you think your child can swim. If you are going to a different environment, make sure you keep a close watch because when the circumstances change, your child's skills will change. And that is something that really need parents to be aware of.
Yeah. Nice. And that's a good reminder to also practice in different environments too, because
Yeah,
that's when
absolutely. Yeah.
accidents happen and things like that. So yeah, that's a good tip. Good tip to know. And so I want to end the podcast with a question from the previous guest. Since you're my first guest, it's going to be for me. What's your favorite level to teach or age to teach, however you gauge it by? Do you have a favorite?
My favorite level to teach. Mm, 6 to 12 months old.
Okay, and why is that?
Um, because they are just starting to develop their personality and their brain is still absorbing so much knowledge. And it is absolutely amazing to see that if you get a child at 6 months old and then they leave that class at 12 months, the amount of skills that they already
Yeah,
have. Where
massive
if you
development.
get a child at 2 years old and you try to teach them those same amount of skills in 6 months, they're not going to get it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's right. It's very cool to see those developmental skills, but definitely important to start early as we can. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to thank you again for coming on and having a chat. It was lovely to
you're
virtually
welcome.
see you. And very excited that I was able to meet the swim teacher of the year for babies and toddlers, which definitely be proud of because it's definitely a big accomplishment.
Thank
So
you.
well done with that. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to type them in the comment section and we'll tag Sacha and make sure she gets us to help answer them. But thank you again for jumping on and having a chat.